We're in the midst of a huge transformation where our peers, communities, and workplaces are all really melting into one. Welcome to Reimagining Company Culture. My name is Christina Giordano, she, her, and hers, and I am the Senior Partnerships Manager here at AllVoices. Today, I am very excited to welcome our next guest onto the interview series, Edna Santos. She is the Vice President of People Experience at EcoVadis. Edna, thank you so much for being here. If you want to share a little bit about yourself for our listeners, including your pronouns and when you were younger, do you remember how exactly you answered the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, thank you so much, Christina, for having me. And hello, everyone. I'm Edna Santos, she, her. I'm originally from Mexico, but for the past 12 years, I've been living first in France, now I'm in the US. I'm the VP People Experience at EcoVadis, a global sustainability ratings company. And to answer your question, when I was young, I wanted to be many things. I think I went through many different careers, but the one that stuck the most was being a kindergarten teacher. So I would put all my dolls and toys in front of me, and I would be pretending to teach them. So in a way, not too far from HR, I knew that I wanted to make a difference and have an impact in people's lives.
Absolutely, definitely related. We've had a lot of folks come on and say teacher or something related to psychology as well. Fast forward to today in terms of leading people experience. Belonging is something that is really important to folks' time at an organization. When you think about measuring that sense of belonging at a company, what are some qualitative or quantitative ways you think about that?
Yeah, well, the concept of belonging has become more and more important. And for us at EcoVadis, it is really crucial. It is actually one of our core values called belong. So for measuring it, there are many ways to measure both qualitative and quantitative. When it comes to quantitative, I think the most common that comes to mind is the employee satisfaction survey. So at EcoVadis, we send a monthly survey with only 2 to 4 questions to ensure that employees have the time to answer them. They are also able to submit their feedback, any comment they have. It is anonymous, but managers have access to the responses. So at any time, managers can go and send an answer through the tool, inviting employees maybe to come and have a deeper discussion on the topic. As well, we have a big satisfaction survey that we send every 2 years, so it's a little bit more complete, and we give them more chance to provide more feedback if they want. And we are also measuring the eNPS. It is a very important insight for us, as we also measure the customer satisfaction. And when it comes to qualitative, we always try to have to create this open and honest communication within the team. So we have many different channels where, for example, for managers, we have a regular catch-up with the local HR team, where they have a weekly catch-up. They can come with their questions, issues, and the local team is there to support them. As well, we have several lines of communication, again, with the local team, but also they have different channels where employees can come and provide feedback. And then this year as well, we launched a new program that we didn't have before, which is the stay interviews. Very important for us to hear from our people why they are staying with us, what motivates them, what do they think that we can change or that we can improve. So it really helped us to get more insights from the team and then decide on what actions we want to implement. Now, when it comes to all this feedback that we are collecting, the most important thing for us is not just collecting it, but actually act on it. Our employees are really expecting that we provide feedback on everything that they're giving, all the feedback that they are giving to us, that we give them a timely answer and that we have action plans for the future. So it doesn't matter if you have a very sophisticated tool. If you are not acting on that feedback, then what is the point? And then finally, I mean, I mentioned already, but for us, it's really important to create this communication and to be open, to have trust within the team. So we really encourage the open dialogue between the teams and the management and the HR team as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you kind of outlining the different ways you're asking for feedback at different points in time as well, and really thinking about keeping a pulse on how people are experiencing the organization, their team, their department too. I love stay interviews as well. I think that's coming up more and more in these conversations. What's motivating folks to really stay at the company. And I think everybody has a responsibility to really create an environment where people can thrive, people feel like they belong. What would you say is your kind of unique role as the Vice President of People Experience to really be a culture champion at EcoVadis?
Well, in this role, I'm very, very lucky. I feel very lucky to be in this role because I have the opportunity to manage many initiatives and programs that contribute to the experience of both our candidates and employees. So employee experience is a relatively new concept. We are seeing more and more roles that are focused on employee experience. And we are now really purposefully thinking about how to create a memorable and purposeful experience throughout the whole life cycle. So it is really exciting to be in this role. The role is broader than the traditional HR, and it's really focused on also bringing culture to life. So one of the projects that, for example, I participated the last year is a review of our core values. Which was a very, very important topic for us. It took us a while to come up with the right wording because we wanted to make sure that we translate our culture into our values. And so it was very successful at the end, and our people feel that the values really represent what EcoVadis is. We also know that the priorities of our employees have changed. They are now more focus on their personal life. And as a company, we need to make sure that we have programs that encourage that life-work balance and not the other way. All the initiatives that we have in the company are meant to focus on creating this balance and to make sure that we create a great experience and that we care for our employees. I feel that many of the companies that are succeeding really understood that the centricity has changed, and now the employee is at the center of everything, really. So very important for companies to focus on creating this experience.
Absolutely. I love what you kind of said there in terms of, focusing on the experience. And I think it's also about meeting people where they are as well, no matter if they're day one at a company or year five too. When you're thinking about kind of that earlier stage of the employee experience, how do you ensure folks feel welcome from day one? And how have you kind of created that intentional onboarding program?
Yeah, I mean, giving a first good impression is critical, right? So for us, being in a hyper-growth company where we are welcoming many people in all departments, in all countries, it became very important for us to take a step back and ensure that our new employees are feeling included and they are having this sense of belonging from day one. So this year, we have reviewed our onboarding process. We created workshops where we try to understand more the feeling of the new joiners as well as the managers to understand what's working well and what needs to be improved. So we reviewed several things in our process. We really changed everything. One of the things that it was a little bit chaotic in the past. We were just very flexible with starting date. So we could have people joining literally every single day of the week, which created some chaos, we can say. And so one thing that we changed is that we set a fixed start date on Mondays. So that allowed us to have a better structure in our training program, and as well for new joiners to meet other new joiners and really create this community from day one. We also reviewed the structure of our trainings. So we focus on the main learnings that the new joiner needs to have for the first days. So day one and day two, they are focused on learning what the company does, what are the different departments, where is the coffee machine? So really the basic things that they need to know for the first days. Some administrative administrative processes, which are not the most exciting, but are things that new joiners need to learn. And then from day 3, they really go deep into their onboarding for the role. So the training that is really focused on their role, their department, etc. We just launched that. It's really new. So we are trying to see if what's working, what we need to change. So far, so good. But yeah, for us, it was important to take a step back and just review and make sure that it's aligned as well with our growth.
Yeah, that alignment between core values and how it's manifesting across different processes in the organization is also critical as well. And I think, when you're starting with kind of other colleagues as well, it's nice to kind of start that community from day one, as you were talking about as well. Can you tell me about how diversity, equity, and inclusion is really at the heart, or rather the DNA of decision making at EcoVadis as well?
Yes, DEI at EcoVadis has been a very big priority for us since its foundation. This year, we appointed a DEI leader for the first time, and we have established a special task force that includes team members from different regions and different departments. We have worked on many things this year alone. We have launched a DEI policy, where we set out our mission, vision, our commitment, some of our KPIs and actions, which have a very big focus on gender balance and equity. I think I mentioned earlier, one of our core values is called belong. So it was really important to have this value that guides us in really building an inclusive culture where everyone can be who they are, where we treat each other with respect, and where we can learn from each other and just share our individual uniqueness. At the same time, we have also created 5 different groups. It has been really interesting to see our employees trying to come up with ideas, and they actually helped us to create these groups. So these networks are focused on gender identity and expression. The second one is focused on disability and medical conditions. The third one focused on gender equality. The fourth one is focused on work-life balance, where we try to give them just some best practices and help them to manage their individual life and manage their workload effectively. And then the last one is interculturality, where we are able to share experiences and different cultures across the team. We have today 70 nationalities, and that's really exciting because it gives us a lot of opportunity to share and to just bring different ideas to the table. Now, we don't have everything figured out yet. It's really, DI is a journey, and we are building it together with our employees. So I mentioned we are really lucky to have employees who are willing to share ideas, but also help us to execute them. There was one very cool initiative that happened this year called the Human Library. And the idea was to invite our employees to share personal experiences. So it can be of any topic they want to share. People came with all sorts of very interesting experiences that one could never thought of. And we invited the rest of the people to book a special session with these people that are sharing their ideas. So they will book a one-to-one meeting, and they will ask questions, and they will learn more about this specific experience. So either they were curious about it, or maybe they're going through the same process and they want us to get more insights from one another. So it's called the Human Library because the people that are sharing their experiences, they're almost like a book where we are reading through them and learning new things. And it was really successful and really interesting, again, just to see how other people's experiences have been.
I love that, the human library. I think that is really interesting. And I bet there was a lot of cool stories that people kind of shared as well. And I think, those moments of connection, storytelling, it all relates to the employee experience, the candidate experience, anyone who interacts with the employer brand as well. And I think it all comes together in terms of company values and that sense of belonging. I also want to ask too, and kind of another something that is related as well is how are you investing in kind of that employee wellness, whether we're talking about, I think we mentioned before, kind of that mindfulness month and mental health group too.
Yeah, well, as for many companies, after the pandemic, we have implemented many actions related to employee wellness. Even though we were already having some actions beforehand, the pandemic really accelerated them. So, for example, we have set up a psychological hotline for all of our employees where they can contact a psychologist either by phone or email. And we have also launched a mindfulness month. This is the second year that happens. So we call it Mindfulness Month, where we bring external speakers. So this year was really interesting. We brought someone who talked about sleep hygiene and how to build positive habits, as well as some tips on meditation. So really interesting. We share a lot of articles, videos. We try to spread it out throughout the month, but knowing that it's not just 1 month for us, it's something that we really want to constantly have. And it's really amazing because one of our networks that we have, they have been launching more talks throughout the year. So some of the talks are focused on managing stress or taking care of the mental health. So really the idea is to keep, even though we have a month very focused on mindfulness, the idea is to have something throughout the year. Another big program that we launched this year was a wellness allowance program. So this is a global program where we contribute a certain amount per country to any physical or mental activity. So it has been really interesting as well to see many different activities where our employees are participating, some sports or activities that I never heard about. And I mean, it goes from, they use it for kayaking, massages, some of them use it to hire, for example, a babysitter if they need some time for themselves. So yeah, it has been really interesting the first year that we launched it, and so far employees have really appreciated that flexibility. And yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, it's really the community that we have created and that are always trying to share best practices and support each other.
Yeah, I think those are really good examples of how wellness can mean different things to a variety of folks at different times of your life as well, and having the opportunity to not take that one size fits all approach to what you need at a given time, and having that support from your organization is so important. You mentioned kind of that pivot from the pandemic, which a lot of folks have experienced too, in terms of doing things differently, acting more creatively, and redefining kind of what it means to be a best in class place to work. How has your retention strategy really changed since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020?
Well, retention has always been key for us. Again, we are in a hyper growth environment and we want to make sure that our employees stay. So since the past few years, one of the main areas where we have heavily invested is related to learning and development. So we have been investing more and more in training our employees, more especially, or we started more with our managers, but the idea is to continue to invest in this important topic. Part of our retention strategy is also making sure that our employees have the flexibility they need. So one of the things we established this year is a future of work policy, where employees can work anywhere they want. They have really that flexibility to be at home, but also they can come to the office if they want. And a very cool thing is that we are also allowing our employees to work from anywhere in the world for a specific amount of time. But it's interesting because our employees would travel or would combine vacation and working time in a totally different country. And it has been really appreciated by our employees to have that flexibility. As well, related to this future of work policy, we implemented some allowances to make sure that they have the necessary equipment at home, and also to make sure that we, in a way, contribute to some costs like electricity, internet, etc. We, at the same time, have given them some tools because communication is really important, especially when we have distributed teams and we have teams working remotely with another part of the world. So we have given them better tools for communication. So for example, we implemented Slack since last year, and just little by little, we are putting in place programs that allow them to have a better connection and to continue to have that team spirit, even if it's in a remote basis. Another thing that has also been a priority for us is recognition. So since the beginning of the pandemic, we put in place a tool that allows employees to recognize each other. So they're able to give points to another person based on a specific action related to one of our core values. So it's always really linked to the core values. At the end of or when employees have accumulated some points, they can convert them into gift cards for many different stores. And also we recognize seniority. So for every anniversary, we are as well giving them points and celebrating that they are with us. So yeah, the recognition part has been important. We have been focusing as well on compensation and benefits. It's an area that we are continuing to invest, and we have improved a lot of our global benefits as well. And then I mentioned about the channels of communication because it's really important for us, for our employees to be able to communicate between themselves and also to provide feedback. And we are just with all the surveys that we have launched with following the ENPS, the objective is to see where our people are, what is our feedback, and again, what is not working, what we need to change.
I think those are really good examples of just ways you're thinking about improving upon the employee experience, working from anywhere, that flexibility, mental health, well-being, and really understanding kind of what folks need to be successful in their role too, and will drive them to stay in an organization. Is there any kind of innovation in the people, talent, culture space you're most excited for, and why?
Yes, it's really exciting to see how the digital transformation is happening. In a way, sometimes it's overwhelming to see all these different tools that are coming in the HR space, but it's exciting to see how companies are investing more and more in the digital transformation, as well as the new ways of working. I mean, the pandemic accelerated some of the ways, but also we are seeing now new generations coming with very different expectations, and so we have to adapt. So it's really exciting to be at the center and to make sure that we are able to support the company as well as employees. And another thing that is happening is just the employee experience. I mentioned earlier that I can see more and more people focusing on the employee experience. And it is really interesting to see how the employee has become really the center of any decision in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you sharing your journey to this work and all the things you're doing at EcoVadis to really improve upon company culture and really actively listen to employees, ask for feedback, and continue to think about, the role of work in folks' lives as well. Is there anything that you would like to share that I didn't ask, or one or two key insights you want to underscore for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is a very exciting time for being an HR. A lot of things are happening in the world. Again, new ways of working, new generations, new technology, and companies are becoming really more people focused. Becoming also a purpose company is exciting, as we are not only HR for the companies, but also an HR for the world in a way. We have wider responsibilities. We have a lot of impact in the world. And so for us, impact is integrated in any decision we take. Maybe one advice that I would give is that you really need to take a step back, because it happens a lot that you are just always busy trying to get through the day and just following the process that exists. And sometimes you forget that you need to take a step back, see if things are working, change, innovate. And so really take the time to be more creative and finding new ways to processes that already exist that maybe are not working, or maybe it can be a better way to do it. So that would be the one advice I could give.
Be agile, be open to change, be creative as well. It's a huge opportunity to really think about the way that we are doing things in the workplace. And thank you so much for being on Reimagining Company Culture this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Christina.
Of course, and as a reminder for folks who are listening at All Voices, we really believe in employees and employers being seen, heard, and understood, and know it's a requirement for the business to really succeed overall. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.